The Consumer Price Index, or CPI, is a measure of the changes in average prices over time for a basket of goods and services consumed by households over a given period. It is one of the most watched economic indicators used to measure inflation. The CPI uses a basket of goods approach, meaning it tracks changes in the costs of the major classes of goods and services people spend money on. The Nigerian CPI basket is currently made up of 12 divisions of goods and services. The basket of goods and services used for the CPI includes popular items that Nigerians regularly purchase. The value of an item in the basket is relative to how much households spend in the consumption of that item compared to other items in the basket. This is known as weighting. Weighting is done to reflect consumption patterns. The National Bureau of Statistics calculates the CPI by surveying the prices for the 12 categories in the basket of goods and services. The prices of goods and services in the basket are collected from retailers and service providers in both urban and rural areas across the country. Each month, over 700 field staff of the Bureau canvass 10,534 outlets spread across the 36 states of the Federation and the FCT to collect information on prices for the computation of the CPI. Currently, the CPI basket contains about 740 goods and services, which includes items such as food, housing, clothing, transportation, and medical care. The basket of goods and services is rated every 5 years to reflect changes in consumer spending patterns. So, how does the CPI help us measure inflation? To answer this, let's take a look at the definition of inflation. Inflation is a continuous increase in the general prices of goods and services over a certain period. One effect of inflation is that it reduces the purchasing power of money. So, someone who bought foodstuff for 20,000 in February 2022, for example, will find that he needs to pay 25,000 naira to buy the same items in February 2023. The inflation rate tells us the degree to which the prices of goods and services have increased over a given period. The inflation rate is calculated by comparing current CPI figures to the previous period. The resulting percentage change between the two figures indicates the inflation rate. For example, the inflation report for October 2022 showed a month-on-month inflation rate of 1.24%. This means that the prices of goods and services rose by 1.24% in that month compared to the preceding month. People often incorrectly interpret inflation as prices. A fall in the inflation rate does not mean a drop in prices. A continuous fall in general prices of goods and services over time is referred to as deflation. This is very different from a drop in the inflation rate. For example, the December 2022 inflation rate showed a decline of 0.13% when compared to the November 2022 inflation rate. Remember, inflation always means an increase. So this means that although there was a decline in the inflation rate in December, prices of goods and services still increased. The decrease in rate implies that prices rose faster in November than in December. How is the CPI and inflation data relevant to our everyday lives? The CPI and inflation data is very relevant to individuals, businesses, and the government. Understanding the CPI and inflation can help individuals, businesses, and the government make informed decisions and policies about spending, saving, and investing. The CPI is used by the Central Bank of Nigeria to develop monetary policy, which involves making decisions about money supply and interest rates. Businesses use the inflation rates to make pricing decisions. The government uses CPI and inflation data to adjust wages, salary, and pensions, and to track the cost of living. Understanding the CPI and inflation rates can also help individuals and households make better budgeting and spending decisions. Stay informed about the latest CPI and inflation data and the implications for the economy by visiting the NBS website at www.nigerianstat.gov.ng.